Never seen a smile so big on my little old lady's face until I tell her I'm going fishing all weekend. Pack up all of my bacon, I make plans for 7:45, and I swing around, pick up my date for the weekend. Some reason she seems to please when I'm leaving. There's something I'm missing when I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing.
Good evening. How's everybody in CFN land? Kenneth, you said it best, man. The show must go on, and we do what we can to make do and get whatever it is that we're trying to do done for the sake of our CFNers. So, Ken, I really appreciate you doing what you're doing and doing double duty, listening to live as well as getting all these submissions done, because as we saw, the CFN fish off, the last push was incredible. It was probably just as busy as the outset, the first weekend and first week. So big shout out to Kenneth and Shao and all of our judges, Mike, Council. Can't thank you guys enough. You've been overly busy, and I know Kenneth is doing the work of three men right now, so can't thank Ken enough for that. But it is drawing to a close, and we are almost done at midnight. The CFN Fish Off for 2021, which we thought would never run because of COVID. We are in our last hours. So again, fantastic job to all our participants, to all our CFNers. And Mike will be coming on at the end to discuss a few things that we're going to be talking about on Tuesday, Attorney Tuesday. And there are a few hot items. I mean, we're seeing it in the comments. There's some negative feedback, if you will. And I can understand. I've talked to our panel here before coming live on their thoughts, and there's certain issues that we're going to be addressing, Mike and I mean, at the end of the day, it's an evolving tournament, but what I need to remind everybody is it's a free tournament, and we try to keep it free for the sake of keeping it fun. And again, everybody has their opinion, everybody has their belief, and as I said, we're going to try, as we always do, to work through the kinks and make it better than it already is. But as I said, Christina said, amazing CFNers, 100%. Like, listen, all of you guys, like, look at right now. I'm sure it's beautiful wherever you are in terms of weather. It's but what everybody's been waiting for, right? COVID is done. You get the chance to go out and live your life, and yet there's still 30 of you here with us tonight, right here. Honestly. It's that kind of dedication that I can't thank you enough. Sean right now is probably sharing this all over social media. So Sean Forche, thanks for the efforts there. And it truly is. It's a team effort. I know Bill's going to be on here doing posts. A shout out to Steve Shaw, who couldn't make it with us tonight, and he always is here every Monday sharing the links. But you know what? Things happen in our everyday life. But 30 of you decided to show up tonight with the Montreal game on, probably going to be the last one. I no offense to our Montreal Canadian fans, but at the end of the day, it's not looking good for you. But I wish you all the best. It's all about who the better team is, and no matter who you cheer for, you have to recognize that it's better to have the better team win. Enough said. Douglas, buddy, some of the content that you are sharing on our Fish Off page, I believe you guys just you were on a hunt for a walrus, and you managed to catch one. And as I said, we're sort of getting warm to what goes on up in Nunavut, and for our First Nations people up there who are, I can imagine it's not an easy go. It's not an easy life. I mean, the entire fish off you guys participated, it was completely frozen over. So I can't imagine that. You're the first contestant that's ever had to do that. So big shout out to you. Bouncy Bottom, Sarah Jinkerson in particular. Holy crap, you were busy on the weekend. So shout out to you. I mean, it's that kind of dedication that we truly, this is why we do it. This is the whole reason we do it. So I don't know. Mike and I will talk about it later, but needless to say, 95.9% of everything that went on in the fish off was absolutely out of the park, amazing. There's just that small little area that either we need to improve on, or folks just, you know what, I don't know, pump the brakes, just take a breath. It's not the end of the world. It's a friendly competition. That's really all it is. Everybody gets a chance to win some prizes and have a heck of a good time doing it. So is that such a bad thing? I don't think so. Anyway, everybody's entitled to their opinions, and you can have your opinions. My opinion is holy heat. Holy friggin' heat, Batman. For us larger set people, we feel a little bit more than some of you skinny minis, and good on you for being able to maintain that. But for some of us, you know what? I got pores that are sweating that I didn't even know I had. But yeah, holy heat. So I hope everybody is keeping hydrated, staying cool. Our thoughts and prayers are with our brothers and sisters out in BC. It's beyond heat out there. You're dealing with forest fires, and the town of Lytton. I was talking to Scott Stewart, our provincial ambassador out in BC, and he said they had like literally 8 minutes to get out of Lytton. Like that's almost hard to believe. It took over that town so quick. Anyway, as I said, big shout out to our folks in BC and on the border of Alberta that are dealing with smoke and fire and everything else. Thoughts are also with our good friend Barb French from Fish Whipped Apparel. She's in the hospital right now getting an operation. From what Ryan, her son, said, things went well, so we're pleased to hear that. So Barb, our thoughts and prayers are with you, and hopefully you'll have a speedy recovery, and you're feeling comfortable right about now. So as I said, CFN Fish Off ends tonight at midnight. What an incredible 4 weeks it has been. A big shout out to all of our sponsors, and we're going to get to all of you. Prizes are still coming in, and there's still slots available because we are going to be doing a lot of promotion when it gets to that point where we're actually putting the prize packs together. So if you are still interested in participating, I know River Reapers is our buddy Corey San is putting a prize pack together. Not to mention, Ugly Boys North Shore, MFS, like there's a whole whack of stuff that's going to be divvied out. And of course, I believe Mike and I might be doing a draw or two tomorrow. So stay tuned to Tourney Tuesdays. Mike and I will talk about that at the end of the broadcast. Now, Bill, if you could just share the link for the CFN meet and greet. Incredible. The response has been overwhelming. As it is right now, I want to say we are tentatively booked solid. And I say tentatively only because people have said that they're very, very interested. I just haven't got them confirmed. So what I've been doing is, as people reach out to me, I've been creating a waiting list. So there is the first come, first serve list, which is all the spots that currently have been assigned to our anglers in both Matt and Adam's boat. But there's also a waiting list. So if you are still interested, please reach out to me via Messenger and tell me you're interested. I'll put you on a waiting list. But as I said, as of right now, it's tentatively booked, and that only took all the day to do. So it's an incredible opportunity that I can't thank Matt Bomeister from Lord of the Fins for giving us the opportunity to do this, but even more so, Michelle and Adam Avery, who sort of spearheaded this entire thing from Fishing Fanatics Charters. As I said, tentatively, solidly booked, but we are putting together a waiting list. So if people can't come for whatever reason, we will make sure that there's an opportunity to fill their spot. But go to the link if you're interested. By all means, send me a PM, and we will get your name on a list. What else have we? I think that's pretty much it. Of course, the selfie promo that we're doing with Bait to Go, and I was hoping to have the new flavor, but I'm going to be doing a video. So stay tuned to that. Ramaco's up in Sudbury asked Bait to Go Outdoor Flavors to put together an all-dressed seasoning. So it is a particular amount or portion of each of the spices that are all put together in one, and it's only for Ramacos. And I think I have a couple fillets that I'll be able to dress up, and I'll let you guys know via the video how good it tastes. But I can only imagine what comes out of Bake to Go is good for all, and I'm looking forward to that. Thursday, as it is right now for TNT, I have nobody in the lineup. It's not to say that we won't have a TNT. As I said, just been busy times with the fish off and everything else. So be patient. Hopefully we will get together a show. If not, we will do it the following Thursday. Where do I post my selfie? Great question, Adele. It is in Cooking with CFN. Sean, hopefully, Sean Fortier, you can help her out. You were our first contestant to qualify, but that is what our CFN community does best, is help each other figure out. And yes, Richard Dunlap, I did. It came today. C4 Lures. I really appreciate that prize pack. We will be giving that out to our CFN fish offers. So yes, I did. Moose is in the house. How you doing, Moose? Did you see the lunker that Moose caught on the weekend? Holy smokes, man. Holy thunder and Jesus, mate. What a pig. Anyway, I'll let you look at his timeline. Just massive. The bait was. I'm sorry, the fish was. Anyway, congratulations to Moose and, of course, Kobe participated as they always do as the team, and they did a fantastic job. Chris McCoy's in the house. How you doing, Chris? Rob Alspatch, you do a lot of sharing too, my friend. Good to see you. James is in the house as well. I'm not fat. It's COVID weight. You use whatever excuse you wish, James. We don't judge here at CFN. Douglas, yes, Scotty got lucky with a walrus. I say it was 2,000 pounds. It sunk, but got lucky to get it with a big hook. Can I submit it for the fish off? Oh, Douglas, thanks for making me laugh, buddy. I appreciate that. Can you submit it for the fish off? Kenneth, I'm going to say that's a hard no. And only because it eats so many darn fish. We don't like the walruses. No, I'm just kidding. We don't judge here, but needless to say, yeah. So anyway, yep. Major thunderstorm up in the Timmins area. Yes, Bill Mafrock had mentioned that there was an electrical storm. And as I said, we are on hotspot right now as well, because it's a typical Monday. You know, the sodders decided to show up to sod the front lawn. They didn't know we were coming. And then we had to frantically get someone to put some hoses down because we were planning to do a sprinkler system. 4 heads, no big deal, right? Well, I think they cut every utility other than satellite and cellular coverage. So I'm not. These are all candles. They're not lights. It's just a figment of your imagination. I think the gas is still blowing, as a matter of fact. I'm just kidding. Anyway, yeah, our cable got cut, so we were on a hot spot, but it is what it is. Kevin, how you doing? Good to see you. Anyway, that is enough of me. That's 14 minutes in. I got to bring in the one and only and the sexiest man, as he always says to me, and I believe it. Why not? Let him go with it. Big Jim McLAUGHLIN, who is going to tell us all about the Watermelon Queen. Is it the Watermelon Queen? I can't wait to hear about this. But anyway, before we get to Jim, here is the favorite video that gets us all going. It gets the body going. he is, the one and only, and the prince to the watermelon.
I had so much lifted off my mind today. Like, I've gone back to being 6'4". I was down to about 4'4", and I just feel like.
Well, you got to tell us why.
The paper is done.
Oh, yes.
We got it all together eventually. We were hoping to get it done before the long weekend, but long weekend, coming up to it, it's not a good time to put something like that together, but it will be done. It's done. Tammy just sent the pages off literally like just before we spoke. We got that done, so it'll be uploaded. It'll be all there on July 8th when you wake up. It'll be all fresh and up there and all good. It's an awesome issue. We got like everybody in it. Everybody, like, we got Pizer in there again. We got Gussie, Brosdahl. It's just everybody. It's it's 56 pages, so we got lots of stuff going on in there, and it's a good feeling. Secondly, I pulled the trigger on a new truck, so that's all done. We did that. Yeah, we did that today. I didn't go for the diesel. I was going to get one of those new 6-cylinder diesels.
Yep. And
the one that showed up that Bruce had coming at Tubman Motors in Ottawa, the price tag was $85,000. So I have to massage my throat and get that to go down. But
don't tell me your fees are going to go up, Jim. I can't afford another penny.
What? I've sold the first check. You told me just hang on to it. Dated like 2016 or something. No.
Holy smokes.
So anyways, we found a much less expensive one, and I got that coming, and then it was so quick to get it done, and then literally no time at all. I haven't seen it, but I bought it, so it's okay.
Wow.
But I mean, it's seeing, it's just like buying a Curado over, online. I buy trucks like that. I just phone Bruce and tell him what I need. This is like the 20th vehicle we've bought from, over the years from these folks. And I had a couple of little issues with this one I wasn't happy about. And they certainly brought it all back to earth and made it count. So that was really, really good. And this afternoon we got the wrap went to bed so easy. It was stupid. So I was supposed to pick the truck up Thursday or Friday, but I'm just going to leave it with Bruce in Ottawa. And he's going to run it across to Mike Peck at Auto Trim Sign Design, who's always done all the wraps for me and Shimano and everybody else here. And he'll have it wrapped. So when I go to pick it up, I'll walk on the lot and go, what's the odds of them having a truck? It's already wrapped with Shimano. So the last one, we did this with it, eh? So it was wrapped when I got it. And I get to the dealership and I make a little movie of me going with my phone, and I walk on the lot and I say, I'm at Tubman's, and I show the GM sign, and I come back. I've dealt with these people forever. And I go across and I go, gonna have a look at some new trucks. And I pan over to the one sitting there, the one I have now, and it's all done Shimano. And I go, what's the odds of them having one that's got Shimano on it already? I don't believe this. What a great dealership. And I went on about, I had a guy send me a message on Facebook that night and say, are you serious about that? They actually keep trucks that are wrapped in case fishing guys buy them? Like
That's
I did too good of a job selling it. Too good of a job selling it, but it's what it is.
I'll tell you, it brings up a good memory. One of the many that we had when my kids were playing hockey, and unfortunately, I don't remember the name of this lad, and it's probably best that I don't. But it was New Year's Eve. Yeah, exactly. It was New Year's Eve, and we're in Niagara Falls, and I forget Executive Suites, I believe, was the hotel we were staying in. And all of a sudden, because it was foggy. Oh my word, was it ever foggy? It had snowed the night before, but it had warmed up, so all you could see was fog. Not to mention you're right at the falls, so you're getting the mist anyway. But anyway, it's just after midnight, and they start the fireworks. And he calls out. He's like, "Oh, Dad! The fireworks are spelling a word." And everybody, goes to the window like, what is he talking about? They can't do that. Anyway, all of a sudden he says, yeah, look, it says CASINO. Needless to say, the fog had dissipated, and the lights of the casino and all the lettering on the building were starting to shine through. And this kid thought it was the fireworks. And I'm like, who's had too many wobbly pops, us or the child? What are you guys into? And they were all of like 9 years old. Anyway, it was funny. Just brings back a good memory.
That's cute. That's cool. You remember things like that. It's
yeah, you never forget that kind of stuff. I'll tell you.
Like I remember my daughter brought something up to me the other day. You know, she's 38 years old, and she says to me, "Daddy, do you remember when we used to drive to Ottawa from Franktown and we go for groceries in Canada or something and stuff like that, or go into Ottawa? Remember we used to drive past the place that was building the house, and they had a big sign with the developer and everything, and it had a giant sign that said lots for sale." And I always used to say to them, "Lots of what? What do they have? What do you mean lots for sale? They don't even put on this." And I rant every time we went by. And the girls would be in the back saying, "No, Daddy, they're selling lots." And I'd say, "Yeah, but lots of what? They say they got lots of it." But I go, and I would go on and on about it, just totally oblivious of it. And she brought that up the other day because one of her kids saw that sign. He's 8, almost 8, and he said, "Lots of what?"
No way.
And that just came into her mind. And then she said, No, it's the lot where you build your house. And he said, "Oh," like he knew right away.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That is hilarious.
That comes back, you know what I mean? Like it's 33 years later.
Incredible. And as I say, Jim, like, you know, I mentioned it just because I see Kerry's name and I know the Habs are playing tonight, but we really appreciate all of you hockey fans that are joining us and any of you that are out enjoying the weather. Christina has a question. Jim, I ordered some Acme rattling Google Eye jigs for walleye. Have you ever used them before? And if so, what did you think of them?
I've used jig. That's the ones with the little eyes that rattle around and are poked out or something. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't used that particular one, but I have used jigs. Like 40 years ago, we used to make ones, and we used to go to the craft shop and buy the little glue-on eyes, and then we made about 100 jig heads. You know, glued them all with crazy glue, put stuff over them so they wouldn't come off, make sure they were sealed on good, and then we found out that they weren't waterproof. So when you fish with them for 5 minutes, they fell off anyway. But eyes are definitely a thing. I mean, there is something to eyes. I mean, like they don't, you know, like when I with Bagley lures, for instance, Jim Bagley, I said to him one day, I said, "How do you make all the eyes exactly the same?" And he says, "Well, they had a firm belief that the way they positioned the eyes on the head, it's the same way Rapala does. It's that it best mimics what a fish's eye is usually doing." So that's really interesting, and it's just I'm sure you'll catch fish with them. You're a good fisherman. You live where there's lots of fish. Get it down there, they'll bite it.
100%. Speaking of get it down there and bite it, I saw an interesting technique, and I forget who it was that shared it, but it was twitching of a Senko.
Was it one of these?
No, it wasn't a Tokyo rig.
Yay! He said it. Ding, 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 ding.
No,
ding,
I am never gonna live that down. I swear I'm never gonna live that. But it's fun. Good laughs. But no, it was a Senko that I believe the hook goes through the front, and then they put a wire keeper at the back that gets hooked up. And basically, what it is the Senko is in a circle, and you twitch it. And it basically just flutters off the bottom, but apparently it's the new craze. I don't know what they call it, what the presentation is, but I saw it on Facebook. I don't know if you had mentioned. I may have saw you
I've never even heard of that. No, unless it's just something that I saw and didn't think of. I know I'm really excited. VMC has a new little ring to put, and I'm not a ring user, except when you use the Neko rig. I mean, it's what it is. They have a new one that goes on that has a little weedy eyelet that comes off if they're just about to introduce it. So you can rig either way with it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. Wait till you see it. As soon as I get one, I asked them to send me one here, so I should get one shortly, and we'll talk about it. But if you're a person that likes to use rings, it's really cool.
I think I know the machine you're talking about, but yes, Sean, I believe that's what it was called. It was a dum-dum ring, and I'm not really sure why it was called such, but apparently I don't know, it's the new thing, but what it was is what I was doing by doing this was generating a segue into what you've seen so far up until now, Jim, as a new thing that sort of has tweaked your interest in our softwater season.
I don't know, I think if I had to pick some stuff, I've seen some really interesting new looking craws from a lot of companies. Like I have guys constantly calling me saying, "What's that little craw you use all the time? My darts hog,
Yeah.
Like I got one here. Well, wait now. There's one. I'll pull this one off the back of this. I mean, I have caught more fish with this little craw than you could imagine. And that tail is really, really, or claws or whatever they're supposed to be here. It's one piece, but if you want, it does. It's hard to show it, but it does come apart. You can cut it. It would split down the middle. I always leave it because this has got so much salt in it. It's really heavy. It's really, really heavy. The weight of it, like you can't. And it's only 3.5 or 4 inches long. But that little thing right there, I have caught more fish with these. I got them hanging off everything I own. Like I say, like I've either got a darts hog hanging off the back of it, or a piece of a chunk craw. And I tell you, I just caught too many fish with it. I've caught too many big fish. But it also comes back to the same old thing too. It's either that or the Archelon for me. And I tend to use the Archelon more once we really get into the summer, like about maybe another week or so from now. I'll jump up to that 4.5-inch bait and really want to give them a mouthful. And it's once they start biting, it doesn't make a difference. It really doesn't. I mean, they're on the chow. They're down with spawning. And I mean, I was out there the other night, and I eventually caught a fish out back on a frog, and he was like this long, and the frog was in his mouth with line coming out. Like how with a mouth that's the same size as the frog, like I couldn't get my fingers in the side to unhook it. I had to get the pliers and just slide them down and get a hold of the hook and pop it out. Like it came out like that. Can you hear the rain?
I can. Yeah, I was just going to mention that.
Wow, is it ever coming down here? Hang on while I get my life jacket. I think I might need it. It was really funny. I thought this was going to happen before we got here, right? So I took a quick picture of the. This is the next 4 hours here.
Wow.
And we're like right at the beginning.
That's the watering of the lawn that we desperately need, I'll tell you.
Yeah, see, we've gotten it a few times. Hey, and I heard you mention something at the beginning too.
Yeah.
The watermelon queen.
Buddy, you have lived the life now that you know the watermelon queen.
Alex Davis, who lives in Alabama, where she was from.
Yeah.
He sees that on Facebook this morning. He's going out to guide on Guntersville down in Alabama. And he goes on and he likes it, and he says to me, "I know the watermelon queen." Because that's where he's from, man.
I had to laugh.
It's a monster business. I didn't realize that Alabama how big it is.
Yeah.
It's absolutely. I mean, like they were up here talking about this, and like they were having a meet and greet at the American Embassy. They were at City Hall in Ottawa. They had a whole crew with them there, divvying up watermelons and giving everybody a chunk and the different drinks and beverages and things that you could do. But she was like a true Southern belle, if you wanted to call it. Like when she talked, it was like, like she'd talk with that real swaggered accent. She'd look at you and she'd go, "Oh, Big Jim, I know you," and stuff. You know what I mean? Like it was just priceless to hear. She was just absolutely amazing. She was incredible. Such a nice person too.
That's
but
awesome.
That's why she's the watermelon queen.
And not everybody can be a watermelon queen. Yeah.
But she had a person with him I referred to after a lady, and she wasn't quite as friendly. And I referred to her as her handler. Like, I mean, oh man, she would just give her looks and different, regardless of what she, whatever she said. You could just tell it was all rehearsed. But that's what she's there for.
That's hilarious.
They're promoting tourism huge, and there's people that go down there because of the watermelons.
Unbelievable.
I just usually go to Costco or Walmart or something to buy a watermelon. I don't know.
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
Hilarious.
yeah.
But, no, too funny. But on the topic of watermelons, in terms of size, I know you had mentioned the craw that you had showed us earlier, the smaller one, and you usually start the season with that. And I was going to ask you about the Archelon because I know you like that is your go-to, especially late in the summer. By saying that, is it because you're trying to mimic the growth of what crayfish are at that time of season, or does that
No,
have?
it just seems to be. Hang on, I'll grab. Just show people just in case, Scotty.
Okay.
I think it's just just something a little bit bigger that they're more apt to pop.
Because I mean, for me and walleye, and I'm only speaking from my own personal experience, but I'd like to use 2.5 to 3.5 in the spring when it comes to a paddle tail. And then later on, getting into the fall, I'd like to go to maybe a 4.5 and a 5-inch. And it's only because I think the size of fish that they're targeting have grown up, but also the bait fish themselves, and of course the fish themselves. But again, I'm not sure from your angle if that is the same.
I can't find one here, but I can put. I've got a picture of one here because I've been talking about them so much lately. Come out wherever you are. Maybe I don't
Jeremy was out in an aluminum canoe with the thunderstorms rolled into Muskoka. Oh man,
that's not good.
That is not good.
Yeah, these storms, as I understand, I think they came off Georgian Bay. Well, they do all the time at the direction these ones are coming.
It's possible. I know Bill was saying that they were getting quite the electrical storm up in Timmins.
Yeah, like there's my buddy right there.
Yeah.
It's got those two floppy legs on it, you know.
And I've seen you catch a lot of fish with that.
It works. And I'm a big believer that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I've just caught too many fish with that. I've always got 40, 50 bags of them here. Like when I used to do so much more fishing, sometimes you go through 2 or 3 bags in a day. If you're catching 30, 40, 50 bass, you can get them chewed up. But that's the nice thing about them too, is it's pretty, that jackal stuff is pretty durable.
And your tungsten weight, does it increase in weight as the season progresses with the weed cover? Sort of.
Yeah. The other thing too, Scotty, is that sometimes when I start off, I'll start off with a slightly lighter weight,
right?
And I will go to a heavier weight in the same area the same day. People always think about speed this way, so how fast you're reeling something in and it's going past the fish. They never think when a fish is sitting in a weed bed and you drop your jig in, speed this way, how fast it passes them. And there's days when something going past them really fast, like putting on like a 5/8 or a ½ ounce or something a lot more, will trigger fish. And I had that shown to me a long time ago by a guy called Larry Allard that used to come up here from Massachusetts and fish. I think we told the story about the docks, where he took me along the docks and he used a slightly heavier jig and caught the heck out of them on the back trip. Just because the jig fell really slow. The fish were a little apprehensive. They weren't really biting. When the jig went down slow, I'll go out and get that. If it went by quick, they weren't going to touch it.
Right.
They weren't going to touch it. Hey, remember I was telling you last week about the guy with the Tokyo rig catching the walleyes? And he's slaying. He's slaying. He sent me a picture. He went and bought 30 of them. He's gung ho. He's got his Tokyo rig box, and he has a buddy who made him a label on the computer that's got the Japanese
lettering
to spell Tokyo rig, and he's got it on the box, so it doesn't say Tokyo rig. Not to me, with like the alphabet, like we have. The guys put the symbol and it's about this big. He made it for him, right? On the box. And he's just gung ho. He thinks it's the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Speaking of which, there it is. Sorry, Jim. Mike Iconelli has come up and designed the Dum Dum rig. There is the link if you want to go see what Sean and I are talking about. It's kind of cool, but here is a really cool question, and I never even thought to ask this. Carrie Paquette, holy smokes, is asking, the Nico rig, is it for largemouth or smallmouth?
For fish.
So
I've caught large. Yeah, I've caught largemouths. I've caught smallmouths. I've caught walleyes. I've got bitten off so many times. I've caught all kinds of fish with it.
See, I would suggest that it would be more a smallie presentation, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, well, see, all these things come out of the largemouth bass fishery in the U.S.
Right. True.
So everything always starts off geared toward, but nobody told, like they didn't send a memo to the fish saying you can't eat that rig. It's, and that's, well, we used to joke about that. But it's true. I've been guiding people, and they look at a lure and they say, "Why are we using this? Aren't we fishing for bass?" Yeah, well, my uncle told me that was a pike lure. Well, yeah, but nobody told that to the fish. So if they want to eat it, you let them eat it. It's what it is. Like I told you, the two biggest smallmouths I had caught in my life, pre the smallmouth boom, were both caught on a 12-inch long musky topwater, like 2 or 3 days apart on the same flat. And they were both, between 7.5 and 8 pounds on a scale. I forget what it was. One was like 7.8 and one was 7.12. And it wasn't the same fish. Because the one fish would have hit the topwater, had a bit of one of the hooks gave a little poke in the top of the head, and the skin wasn't broken. So, when I caught those two fish, it'd be like 25 years ago. And that was unheard of. And I just wondered to myself, if I caught those two on baits a foot long looking for muskies, what was there? Like, could there have been a bigger fish? That was in the Rideau River too. Like, I mean,
you hear that all the time, especially out the east side of Ontario. People trying to hook muskies and the enormous walleye or bass that they're catching with these ridiculously sized knocking.
When I drove up to Dorset there on the weekend, when we went through Halliburton, Head Lake there right in town, that's one of the places Rocky and I used to guide. And when we went on through Halliburton, it was off to the left there behind the rail, down the lake. And I said to my buddy Brando, I said to him, "Hey, look I said, do you remember I told you about the lake where we used to catch all the 5-pound largemouths while guiding for muskies?" He goes, "Yeah." He said, "Is that it?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "Wow, I never thought that to look at it and whatever." But it wasn't uncommon to get 2 or 3 largemouths that were like the length of your arm. And this wasn't me fishing. This was my clients. So, these guys didn't fish a lot. You had to direct them where to cast, how fast to reel, all this stuff and everything. And they weren't really fishermen, and they would still crack the fish on. They'd get them on giant lures, absolutely giant lures, like big double vibraxes. I think they're about 8 inches long. And they just inhale it like the blade would be, up between their eyes. They just have crushed it. And they're, nobody, like I said, just because it's bigger, nobody told them that they can't eat it.
What a productive fishery that Head Lake is! I'll tell you, it has produced some giants, crappie, walleye, and
yeah. I mean, it's nothing now compared to what it used to be.
Right.
Because of pressure, man. When we used to go there, it was scary. And I mean, I don't ever remember having an instance in there where we knowingly killed a fish of all the stuff we did. And I mean, Rocky fished there forever. And it was very seldom did we ever see anybody else there. Very seldom. It's funny. It's right in the middle of a little town like that, and they still had that mentality where they had to go to the lakes outside town because they thought they were getting away. They didn't realize what was right underneath their nose. Oh, he'd get people to guide, and they couldn't believe he was guiding them in right downtown Halliburton.
Incredible.
Like, they sort of thought they had to go down the 40 miles of dirt road and get out and unlock the secret gate, and leave the $5 underneath the milk can and go launch, that kind of stuff.
Not that stuff ever goes on. Carrie does it. Oh, I know. I can only imagine. Carrie has a follow-up question to it. When it comes to the Nico rig, is it better to have weightless or with weight?
Yeah, little nail weight in the tail, Carrie. Just a little nail weight. And they have Nico sinkers now. They look like a jig head with no hook. They're just a little ball of lead, and they have that little insert with the grooves in it to hold it in, and it pushes in the bottom. I've got all that stuff. I had it. I don't think I have. I might have.
I'm actually starting to see groups use the Ned rig for walleye. It's not as popular as, of course, with bass.
Oh yeah, it's a fantastic presentation. Yeah,
but I'm starting to see a lot more folks catch walleye with it.
I bought these one day on the fly, and I mean, all these weights do. It just looks like a lead finishing nail, and you can see it's got all the little grooves on it.
That's exactly what it looks like.
Yeah, and you push it up into the plastic in the bottom, so it's in the tail of the worm, and you're hooked up here. And next week I'll rig one up, and we can show it, so everybody will see it. But it's yeah. I stopped in. I ran out of weights because you lose them often if you lose the plastic. So they're not that expensive. They're like $3.50 or something for a bag of like, how many are in here? Quantity's 20.
Wow.
Yeah, those are Lunker City, but everybody makes there's a price tag on it.
Yeah, like it looks like a finishing nail without the wide head.
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting stuff. Speaking of tackle, Christina unfortunately was bummed out because she had a new pack of Jackal Rhythm Waves. She opened the pack to use just one, and as she was rigging it up, a gust of wind took the entire pack and sank it to the bottom of the lake. She's really stoked, though. She still has the one Rhythm Wave on her Sid Fish's jigs. But, yeah, those Rhythm Wave paddle tails, they do work. They do work very, very well. And I'm in agreement here with John, who also agrees that the paddle tails work really well. We're lucky that we have a lot of great product sponsors at CFN that also make some great paddle tails as well. But, yeah, got to give a shout-out to our folks over at Jackal for the Rhythm Wave.
Oh, they got some good stuff. There's no ifs, ands, or buts, but there's a lot of stuff. And, you remember, Scotty, years ago when we used to fish, we used to use the Mr. Twister Sassy Shad. It was the same thing.
Yep.
The plastic body with a little wiggly boot tail on it,
Yeah.
And they've just made everything better. They put nice colors if you want colors, and I don't get hung up on colors. Guys say to me, "Do you use a lot of really like?" I had some. Wherever you are.
Those sassy shads that you're talking about, Jim, you don't really see that kind of shape of paddle tail as much anymore. The Rhythm Wave is a more slender presentation, but those sassy shads, they got some height and thickness to them.
Like I have a bunch of stuff that my buddy in Oshawa painted for me.
Holy smokes! Yeah,
like
are the
really,
eyes
really
important?
Nice.
Look at the eyes on that thing.
Yeah, these just killed me for looking like a little largemouth. And then I got these from a guy in the U.S. a few years ago. He won the American Championship for painting.
Good Lord!
And they're supposed to look obviously like a sunfish, like a pumpkin seed.
Are those available to the public, Jim?
You can buy them off the website. I don't think he does it anymore. He actually got quite ill, but I bought 4 of them off him. I've used one. I've used that one. I'm not a big guy on natural looking baits like that. I've never had overwhelming success. Like to me, getting pretty funky would be, something like that.
Okay.
That's getting funky.
And not to drop names, but so like a live target is kind of what you're talking about. Like
yeah, and I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't catch fish.
Yeah.
I've caught a lot of fish with a live target perch over the years. I've got one of their big jointed wake baits sunfish there. I've caught a pile of fish with it. But across the board, I'm just more of I've just never really, I've never really had great success with natural finished lures like that. I know guys that do, but to me, great success is an awful pile of fish consistently. And I haven't had that happen. So I sort of stick with more simple stuff. Like people see me, and say they see me with a spinner bait. That's still my favorite.
Yeah.
White with a Rhythm Wave on the back. Yeah. Pretty simple looking stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just not big into, even like just everything I have is just sort of simple, looks like a bait fish, like a swim jig, nice, white silver with a Rhythm Wave out the back. Everything has a Rhythm Wave on it. That's why I say you can put a Rhythm Wave on anything. Hey, look, you can even put it on one of these rigs. But there's our buddies in Freedom, the chatterbait.
Yeah.
The Rhythm Wave out the back end. I mean, I what is it the lady says with the hot sauce? I put that shit on everything. Like it's they should have a slogan that says that about them.
And you might have just gave birth to that. Eric is asking, do you collect a lot of antique lures?
No, ma'am. Never got into that. I have some buddies. In fact, whenever I get anything, Tammy bought some stuff. I can see it from here in the bookcase. It's a bag of empty boxes from lures, and there's some Hedden boxes and some other stuff there. And I sent a picture of them to Bernie Schultz, who's one of the foremost authorities on old tackle, and my buddy Bill up in North Bay. I sent it to him too. But he said, yeah, I think a lot of that stuff is worth a considerable amount of money. Like you're not retiring or anything like that, eh? And Bernie Schultz came back to me and gave me a website to go to and post it. He said, post it. You'll like the result.
Wow.
That's all he said, because he knows that there'd be guys looking for particular things that are in that Ziploc bag. A lot of times they have the lure, but they don't have the box.
Yeah.
And when they get the box and they can put the lure in the box, and now this is the box that the lure came in, and the price all of a sudden goes from being like $80 to $400 or something. So for them to spend $100 on the box, and we paid $5 at an auction.
So I just thought of this, but it's safe to say that you have probably lost more tackle than some of us have ever owned in our lives.
Well, I've got bitten off for more tackle than some of you have owned. I'll tell you that.
I can imagine.
I spent too much time scrounging deep weed lines, and those toothy critters, they like to be one step away from the deep water. The ones that are really big enough to eat anything you put down there. One flick of the tail and they're gone into deep open water, and that's where I applied my trade. The last stop, maybe before the deep water, and I'll tell you, there's days when I spent more time sitting in the boat retying jigs.
Absolutely. Ed McKenzie, you know what, Ed? It's funny. Ed said it's just Jim's old lures from his youth. They're not antiques. It's stuff that he's still got in his tackle box. I thought that. I'm glad you said it, Jim.
I love you too.
Ed, you can get away with it.
That's really cool. Hey, he's a sharp guy. He's sharp.
He's smart as a tack, I'll tell you. Smart as a whip. Rocky is asking a good question. This is there a particular time of year or specific conditions when you start throwing wild color lures?
Yeah, when I can't get a bite sometimes, we used to refer to it as fishing ugly. And just throw the ugliest, dorkiest looking thing that you have out there. And quite often, I think it just triggers a fish regardless of what it is. I don't know whether they look at it and go like, that's so ugly, I have to kill it. Like, or whatever. But I've seen so many days, Scotty, where I picked up a spinnerbait that somebody has made and sent me, and I wanted to get a picture of it, and I wanted to catch a fish and send them a picture or something, and legitimately catch a fish. I'm not just going to grab a 2-pound bass, stick it in their mouth, and send the guy a picture, Years ago, somebody got caught doing that, and they sent them a picture of the lure. The only mistake that they made was it was after we were using phones and things like that, and the person took the picture and went like this, and there was no knot and line on the lure. So they just hung the lure in the fish's mouth. Yeah, it sort of hurt the guy's feelings. Like he said, I feel really good that you took the time to even bring the lure in the boat, But I've had some stuff out there. I had a guy send me a spinnerbait one day that was chartreuse, about 3 different shades of chartreuse. The rubber was all tied on cockeyed. He had pieces that weren't split, like when you split the skirts, there was pieces still stuck together and everything. And it was just an absolute wreck. And I thought, like, am I on candid camera? So we went out and I looked at my buddy. We were just fun fishing, and I said to him, I got to do it. He goes, what? He says, the spinnerbait. I said, yep. I tied it on. The first cast, I caught like about a 3.5-pound smallmouth on it. Just crushed it. Just about pulled the rod out of my hands. And I sent a picture of the guy, and about two weeks after, I get a package in the mail, and he's made like 4 more for me. Like God bless him. Like it was just, it was so cool. But fishing ugly works. There's no doubt about it.
Amen.
I'm trying to think. I know one time on Rice Lake, Rocky and I were fishing a walleye tournament there, and he pulled out a chartreuse twister tail that had an orange tail with purple dots on it. It was like the ugliest looking thing, and we weren't doing well. And all of a sudden, we're in the top 3 at the end of the tournament because of that one twister tail, which got chewed so bad we couldn't use it. He couldn't use it anymore. But if it wasn't for that,
well, Jim, on that note, I fish ugly all the time, but it's got nothing to do with the baits that I'm using.
Oh, that's not true. That's fake news. Come on, don't tell us that.
Anyway,
but
as
smiley face. Hey, so tonight's the end of the fish off?
It is at midnight. Yes, it strikes.
So I got to get my entries in.
And it's over. What's that?
I've got 112 entries.
You do? Oh my!
I had to worry for a second, didn't I?
Kenneth just fell off his chair. I just saw him fall off his chair.
I'll only send in 100. It's all the same fish, though. I just took different pictures from different angles. They all have a darts hog in their mouth. How come he caught them all on that?
That's awesome. Jim, as always, buddy, thanks so much for doing this. As always, each and every Monday, we look forward to it. And Bud, you just keep on keeping on, brother.
Be good, buddy. Everybody be good. Thanks for having me.
Amen, bro. You take care. All right. Before we bring in Lawrence, and it's always a pleasure to talk to Jim. We could literally talk all night, him and I. And you guys are the beneficiaries of it. So I get to learn along with you. But before we bring in our good friend Lawrence, who has some incredible stuff to talk about, and I want you to pay attention and listen, because it's concerning. But at the same time, it's going to wake us all up to get more involved. But before we talk to Lawrence, here is a word from our sponsor.
Honoring past achievements as we step into the future. Elevate, innovate, reimagine. Make the best better. That's what we do. Radically redefined, the NRX Plus is the culmination of our obsessive drive to forge the most advanced fishing tools on the planet.
Good evening, Lawrence. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well, thanks, Scotty. You?
Fantastic. I see you have a partner in crime with you. Looking out the window, I'm imagining she is awaiting the storm that is coming.
No, he's awaiting my wife. He's got this crazy attachment to my wife. It's like this. He's 9 months old. It's a golden doodle, and he's my wife's dog. So she took my son to baseball, and he sits there on that little bench, looks out the window at the driveway, and waits for her to come back.
It's like me with my wife when she goes grocery shopping. I sit at the front window, and I can't wait for her to come home, but. I keep telling her it's because of her, but she knows better. It's because of the food.
Yeah,
but, it's a whole nother story. So I have to ask you. There's some big news that you're going to be sharing with us in regards to movement that is, or a regime that is happening behind the scenes that some folks know about. But before we get to that, when it comes to big fish, I hear there's big news in big bluefish territory in your country.
Oh yeah, what do you mean? You're catching me.
Well, what's happening? What's happening in the news? Tell us what's going on across Canada.
The news, the bluefish news.
Yes.
Oh, see, now I'm thinking I got my head all wrapped around that story we want to talk about.
Well,
the bluefish news is out today. So those of you who have subscribed, the 3,000 of you who have subscribed to the Bluefish News, check it out. Should have landed in your mailbox around 3:00 this afternoon. If you want to receive it, go to bluefishcanada.ca and subscribe. We won't share your email address, and we won't bombard you with anything else except the news every couple weeks. And so in there, the whole thing is really about fishing and what's going on with fishing these days, catch and release, tournaments, fish health, things like that. But I also put in there as our guest feature spot. Hang on. Go on. Andrew Marr wrote a Facebook post the other day, and he's a pike guide right up in Northern Ontario. And so he wrote a post about letting the big fish go. And it was a beautifully written post. And I wanted to get him on Bluefish Radio. I will, but we just couldn't get things lined up. But I included his note, a slightly edited version of his note in the Bluefish News today. And I suggest you guys read this. Here's a man who has been guiding for 10 years up in northern Canada. He's caught 20,000 pike with his guests, or his guests have caught 20,000 pike with him. And he knows the reason why you need to let the fish go. Because, if you don't let them go, if you're going to keep them and take them home and hang on.
The doodle wants to have her word or his word.
He sees something out there on the driveway. It's probably the neighbor. There we go. Go on now. Go on. Out you go.
All the wild.
Out you go.
The doodle is done.
Oh man, try to get these doodles not to talk, right? They're always yapping. And and my guide dog just wrestles them. Sometimes my guide dog, who's a big lab golden himself, but he's 3 times the size of the doodle. He just picks him up by the collar and swings him around like a duster.
Wow.
And the poodle does nothing. He doesn't mind. They're wrestling all the time. They're always wrestling and goofing around together. But no, that's dog stories. Anyways, Andrew Marr has just absolutely captured in his piece, in his article, why we should be letting go these big pike and why it's so essential to let them go. If there's going to be a future, we can celebrate a shore lunch. He suggests, a 27, 28 inch pike. And this is a land of 45 plus inch pike.
Right.
He says, a 27 inch pike can feed 3 people easily. So that's an average size pike up there. And he says they're really careful just to pick a male. No one leaves the fishing lodge with a cooler of fish at the end of their trip. The fish stay. If you want to have a shore lunch, that's fine. You can also have an option not to eat fish for your shore lunch. There's an option. So you're not forced to eat fish if you don't want to. Want to do it once, in your week stay or whatever. So they're really, the management and the guides have really sort of come together in understanding. They bring in a biologist from Saskatchewan to work with the guides at the beginning of the season to talk to them about fish handling practices, how to identify the female pike from the male pike. So there's a lot of education going on there. This is heads and heels over top of the regulations, right? The regulations call for, you can keep a number of fish and blah, 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 blah. You're entitled to this. But these guys are saying, no, not here. You come here for the experience, not to fill your freezer. And it's just a beautifully written. So he got me thinking about this. He got me thinking about this in the news. And, we've been covering in the news a lot about gill net fisheries on the West Coast, right? Whether it's moderate livelihood gill net fisheries or commercial gill net fisheries and seine fisheries, and the impact that's having on the Pacific salmon on the West Coast in terms of numbers. And we just heard recently that the Minister of DFO has said that they've closed 60% of the commercial salmon fisheries on the West Coast now in the last week. So what does that mean? Does that mean they're 60% of the licenses they're going to buy back? Or have they actually looked at the total amount of fish being caught and are going to scale that down by 60%? None of those details are out yet, but it's a step to acknowledge that there is damage being inflicted onto the sustainability of wild Pacific salmon by large-scale net fisheries. And now there's research as well that maybe as many as half the salmon that get into these nets actually get out of these nets before they're hauled onto the boat. Salmon are quite fast, right?
Right.
And anyone who's tried to net a fish, a trout or a salmon in a river, even when it's on the line, they realize, that fish sees a net and it's doing a 180. They're amazingly quick at avoiding nets,
right.
Even hand nets. So they're not easy to catch. But when they get out of a seine net or a gill net and avoid capture, they realize that maybe 50% of these fish have mortal injuries. And the ones that don't die from their injuries and make it to the spawning beds fail at spawning because of the injuries. So the impact of these net fisheries, not just the fact that they indiscriminately harvest fish, that they crush fish, that there's no letting these fish go. Once they're in the net and hauled aboard the boat, they're dead. But even the ones that escape, which is as many as half the fish escape, they're damaged. They're damaged, and so it's a huge issue. And the minister said, okay, we got to stop. We got to really dial this back. Now, what does that mean? In real terms, we'll see. We'll find out. It's all part of the $647 million initiative, right? To revive the fishery out there, the Pacific salmon fishery.
And it's a huge number. And as I said, I mean, you can have a difference of opinion on either side of the fence that you sit, but recognizing the severity of what's going on out there, I think is a good indication of the amount of money that's being thrown at it. I just hope it's, as we've always said, hope it's spent in the right places. But, let's face it, this issue with the salmon didn't happen overnight. This has been an accumulative effect that has been going on for many years. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It goes back to habitat loss. And there's two things to blame for that. That is dams, and putting barriers in place of fish so they can't get to their habitat. It's the hardening of shorelines and the prevention of the smolts to getting into wetlands before they return to the ocean, on their way back down the river. So they have that intermediate zone where they can go through a nice, stable sort of process of going from fresh water to salt water in a safe habitat instead of just being flushed right out into the ocean with no cover around, and they're still basically a freshwater fish thrown into the ocean, and they have to survive, swim or die.
Right.
And forestry, the clear cutting of forestry and the sedimentation of spawning beds and the overheating of water because you remove that cooling canopy. And look how important that is now, right? These cooling canopies that the trees provide the rivers. You remove these cooling canopies and these rivers are warm. But I think even more importantly right now is these rivers are flowing fast because the snow in the mountaintops is melting like crazy, and it's going to be gone soon. And then there'll be nothing left to cool those rivers for the rest of the summer. So there's some problems on all that habitat front. But for sure, starting with the canneries, and when DFO said to the First Nations fishers 100 years ago, got to stop using weirs, you need to move on and use these gill nets. And weirs was a series of traps that were built into the river. And the fish would swim into these traps, and then the First Nations collectors could go in there, pick the fish they want to bring home, and let the other ones go out another door and move up the river. So there was no trapping, no catching at all. It was just they were just sort of collection pools called weirs, and they were forced by law 100 years ago to destroy all those weirs. Many of them, hundreds of years old, and in exchange they were given gill nets. So we started that whole gill net fishery, and it was prolific at the mouths of the rivers, feeding the canneries, in the 1900s, early 1900s, and all the salmon canneries. And when that technology came about and they figured out how to can salmon, so you didn't have to salt it, you could actually can it, steam it, and preserve it inside these cans and ship it all over the world. So that was the beginning, really, the beginning of the demise.
Yeah, and unfortunately, as we've just mentioned, it has been an accumulative effect that has been going on for some time. And forest fires have always been a part of the BC forestry industry and BC forestry as a whole. But you're dealing with them. It seems a lot more frequently than maybe before, and that's having catastrophic consequences on the soil, the composition around the river banks. There is not a lot to hold back the silt that is now finding its way into these streams. So, of course, as you mentioned, our habitat is constantly evolving, and more so drastically than I think ever before. I mean, look, the temperatures that they just recently experienced in BC, it was in the 50s. When have we heard that kind of temperature being forecasted or even being recorded in BC? Holy smokes!
Oh yeah, that's hot. That's hot. That's deadly hot. And just a number of people dying from heat heat-related deaths. Right? It's a problem. It's a huge.
But not to
problem.
mention, from a fish standpoint, not to mention the fact that you don't have those cooling ponds anymore in some of our rivers. They're being silted, and of course the runoff is even warmer because you don't have that natural cover, because of course these forest fires are constantly basically uprooting all of the forest. But here's a comment from Bill. I think it's an interesting one, and I'm going to ask you your opinion. Is government better paying off the net fishermen to take a few years off to reestablish the fishery? Do you think that would work?
I think they're going to buy back licenses. They're going to say, look, it's time for you to say retirement, right? And if you want to take someone who's got, what do they got? They have an old boat. They have some old nets. And, is there any value to that if you can't have a license to use that boat and nets? No, those boats and nets are almost worthless, right? Where are you going to take that? Where are you going to take that? Not anywhere around North America. There's no use for any of those boats. There's no need. So the boats are almost valueless. So if you could sell your license, which is your only remaining asset, and the government says, we'll give you this much money for your license, and it might set them up for retirement, at least help them towards retirement. Yeah, it can help, take away the sting, and it helps set them up, that succession planning. How do you stop a business, right? If the business depends on you going to work every day and you stop and your business stops, that's not a retirement. That's a drastic loss of income. So to have an ability to, sell your license. Now, what happens to those licenses? Are they going to go to First Nations fishers? Well, that's some people are saying that, but then there's a recent ruling saying that First Nation, it just came out in British Columbia 2 days ago, that First Nations fishers, they don't need to get licenses from DFO. They have a right to license themselves and regulate their own fishery. So they don't need to be buying licenses. They might need to follow the seasons of DFO and the harvesting limits set by DFO, but that's not easy to track, right? When you have many small fishers selling privately, it's not easy to track those numbers.
I can only imagine.
Yeah,
and as I said, it's the chain of communication, unfortunately, is broken out in BC, where there's a distinct detachment between the general public and what goes on, in some of the treaty land. And again, that's a topic of conversation that could blow up like a tinderbox. But needless to say, you're 100% right. And I think to take it further in regards to our recreational catch, because as you said, it's altering what our recreational anglers are able to do when it comes to targeting salmon. And in a lot of cases right now, especially around Vancouver Island, it's catch and release. But there's a new regime that is slowly gaining momentum, and the voice is getting very loud. And I want you to talk about that when it comes to getting rid of catch and release altogether.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's an author, Mark Hume. He's a national journalist for the Globe and Mail, retired. He's written 5 books on nature. He's a long fisherman for his entire life, fly fishing. And he just wrote a 4,000-word opinion piece that the Globe and Mail ran. And it's all about catch and release fishing and calls to bring an end to catch and release fishing. No more releasing fish. You catch your limit, you're done, right? You got your 5, your 2, or whatever, you're done. You go home. And there's several First Nations who control, certain areas of marine territory that have written letters to DFO saying, hey, we don't want to see guide boats coming from lodges in our territory where they catch their 2 fish that they're allowed to harvest, and then they just keep fishing. We find that it goes against our values of harvesting for food, and it goes against our values of respecting the fish. It's what they're doing is they're playing with their food, they call it. Right, and it's fishing for entertainment, and that they said that goes against their values. There's another First Nations community on the West Coast that's sent a similar letter. There's an advocacy group on the East Coast in Newfoundland that's also sent a similar letter saying they want to see an end to DFO, to catch and release fishing. PETA, of course, the prevention of or protection of ethical treatment of animals or whatever. They've been calling for an end to catch and release fishing because they can say it causes pain, needless pain to fish. That should stop. It's not right. And Mark Hume's article, he goes into this in some quite detail, and he says, where does this come from, this fishing? Why do we fish with a pole and line? And he goes back to Egyptian tombs that have pictures of people in a boat hauling fish in with a net, and right next to him, a person standing with a long fishing rod, fishing with a fishing rod. Obviously, the person with the fishing rod is not fishing to catch a bunch of fish, because otherwise he'd be using a net like all the other ones, right? He's fishing for fun. He's fishing for the experience. He's fishing to connect. He's fishing to maybe some sort of just an experience like we do, just to fish. And it goes back in time. Like fishing goes way back in time. We've been doing fishing for forever, right? Forever and ever. So there's all sorts of evidence that's saying we've been using hook and line. We've been practicing catch and release. We've been talking about this and doing this for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. So it's not, catch and release is not just 30, it wasn't just born in the 1980s. So, it's part of who we are. It's part of who we are to fish with a rod and line, hook and line. And we do this not to fill our freezers. We do this to connect with nature.
So the concept of catch and release, and I, as I said, I would have a hard time understanding anybody that would suggest that catch and release is a bad thing. And I understand the argument about playing with the food. I don't think I'm alone though. I'm sure there's a lot of folks out there that would agree that if you are on a charter and you manage to catch your limit and your box is full, at that point, I would say it's probably reasonable to say it's time to go home. But, as I said, to the extent that you're discussing catch and release as a whole to be non-existent is just, at the end of the day, do we not have to fight for our traditions? Our First Nations do that. And I fully support that, whether I agree with it or not, I support and respect it. But should we not, as the general public, be fighting for our same traditions? It's a tradition for me to go fishing. I enjoy fishing. Why is it all of a sudden somebody's mandate to get rid of it? I don't know. I wouldn't do that to you. I wouldn't expect it to be done to me.
And I don't know if it's all that black and white either, as terms of values and First Nations. We can point to all sorts of values and things that are written in Bibles and things like that aren't really that closely followed either, right? They're things that have been written down hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago, and we don't necessarily practice it anymore. So, I think we all know lots of have friends that are Indigenous background that fish with rod and reel and fish tournaments and fish for fun, and it's something that we do because it allows us to continue to fish. I spent 10 hours on a lake about an hour and a half from Ottawa on Canada Day. 10 hours on the water, and I know this lake well. It's got cottages, and it's a big lake full of bays and islands. And we went around and we looked around here and there and traveled about and fished on many different spots. Oh, my wife's home.
I no doubt the groceries are here. The groceries are
here. So we caught some fish here, we caught some fish there, and we caught a lot of bass that were in the 1.5 to 2 pound range, right? And we caught some 2.5 to 3 pound fish that obviously, showed some signs of having been caught before, and some had shown some signs of being put on, culling tags, right? Not the clip-on ones, but the puncture in the bottom lip ones. But we didn't catch a lot of fish in the, 3.5 to 4.5 pound range, the breeders.
Right.
But we do see on that lake cottagers coming out on a Friday evening in their little tin boats, going to their spots and getting a little stringer of fish for food for the weekend. And to them, it's just easier to keep a 4-pounder. That's a couple of those is good. It's easy. You got a lot of meat there. It's a more efficient way of fishing than catching 5 or 6 1.5-pounders and having to clean all them. So is it fair to say that these local cottagers who are catching a little limit of fish for themselves on the weekend and eating them and doing it efficiently by focusing on the bigger fish, are they caught? Is that the problem, or is it the ones that go there and have a little tournament or have a little fun fish and let the fish go? Who's causing the fact that this lake has a shortage of large breeders? Yet I'm not the great angler, and I can't catch 5-pound fish all the time, but I've been on bodies of water where I do catch them, and I've been on bodies of water, that are less pressured, and where you catch a mix of different size fish, and a mix that's normal. A couple big ones, a bunch of medium ones, and you see a whole bunch of smaller ones. That's normal. But when the big ones are missing, what's going on. They're being harvested. If there's another lake in another direction from Ottawa, and it's got 4 trailer parks on it. One of the trailer parks has 350 campsites, and the other 3 have about 100, 150 each. So that's a lot of weekend warriors, right? And and that lake is known. It's 2-pound. It's that's a 2-pound bass lake. That's all you're ever going to catch is a 2-pounder if you're lucky, because the bigger ones are all harvested. And so there's a problem, right? There's a problem. It's not the right kind of harvesting being done because people aren't educated. But at least there's still fish.
I couldn't agree more, and it's something that Jeremy just brought this up, and you see it as a course down in the States. High school kids can take the course. Not in every state, but in some states they have a course on conservation and fishing. Primarily bass fishing is a course in some high schools. But I think I agree, Jeremy, and I'd like to see. I've often thought about that from CFN, if we could set up a course where we could learn more about the importance of fish handling, understanding the need to catch your limit your catch in different bodies of water. Not so much targeting the big fish. Of course, everybody wants to catch big fish, but if they're I don't want to say endangered, but there's fragile.
Only a few of those. There's only a few of those to go around, right?
Perhaps we might need to alter how we do fish. But one thing that I will say that I'm sure a lot of folks would agree, there's some out there that are meat hunters that would not. Our numbers got to change. Our catch limits are, I think, completely out of whack for what we're allowing to keep. And I'm speaking on my own opinion. That's just my opinion. But I think we need to revisit some of these limits that we currently have. But as I said, going back to the catch and release, if they were to ixnay that altogether, then to me, fishing as a whole would disappear. You wouldn't just stop at catch and release. It would go far further than that. Well,
definitely fish research would disappear.
Yeah.
There was a call to action. There was a call to action here on the opening day of muskie season on the Rideau River. And it was put off last year, but the researchers at Carleton University's Cook Lab have been planting transmitters into the bodies of muskellunge, right, and tracking them electronically. But they have to catch the fish, right? And you ask a bunch of students, university students, to go out and catch fish on their waders. It's not going to happen that easily. So they asked the Muskie Club here in Ottawa, come out and help, and they showed up, and they caught the 10 fish they needed to add to their study in a day. And the researchers were running around. The fish were being kept in nets in the water until the researchers could get there. They take the fish out of the water. They cut open the cavity of the fish. They insert a electric transmitter tag inside. They stitch the fish back up, and let the fish go. And these fish all go away, and then they're tracked for the next number of years.
Right.
Very, very few of these fish die. Almost none. They can tell if they die because the transmitter never moves again. It's not like it just disappears. It just stays in one spot and never moves. So they know, because they've got receivers positioned all up and down the river. if a fish is caught and taken out of the system, they know that too, because there's no more signal from that transmitter. But they know the ones that die, and that's almost, the death rate is like, it's below 1%. So these fish are caught, operated on, released, and doing fine. So this is valuable research to understand these apex predators, and it would not happen without catch and release fishing. So there's another reason, that this is a helpful, useful aspect of angling.
Yeah. And really, I mean, as I said, I can't emphasize enough that catch and release does work. I think most anglers or part of our audience that are watching tonight would agree catch and release does work. Mm-hmm. It is important that we don't target fish in certain depths of water based on the species that we're targeting. We need to be more vigilant with that. But yeah, I mean, I have a particular body of water that if catch and release didn't work, I would have killed all the fish by now. And I know that hasn't happened. So as I said, yeah, it's just, I think we need to revisit a lot of things, and I feel bad for our BC anglers who are having to deal with the situation that they are with salmon, and that it is some catch and release only areas that they're allowed to fish, which we talked about with Cliff and a few other people. Yeah. I don't know, as charter captains, how they're managing with just a catch and release fishery available to them. But needless to say, we start getting rid of that. I think we're going down a path that we're never going to come back. And you know what? I don't want PETA to win. I don't have a grudge towards them, but I don't tell them how to live their life. Why do I have to be told that it's wrong? It's been traditionally right. Doesn't necessarily make it right if it's harming someone, degrading something or whatever. But at the end of the day, fishing is a tradition. It's been going on as long as Lawrence just mentioned in back in Egyptian times. So let it be, man. Just let it be.
We got to get better at doing this. Like I was around when I was a child. My dad and we kept everything and ate it, right? It was a great day. We celebrated. We came home. Dad and I cleaned the fish. We cooked the fish together. It was a celebration of our day on the water, to bring that fish home and feed the family with it. We didn't do it every weekend. We didn't, we didn't have food insecurity. We weren't starving. It was just a beautiful way to connect with nature. And it got me, into this sport of fishing. To my father did that for me. And then, to learn that we can actually catch all the fish, because I was doing that as a cod fisher on the East Coast, and they were gone before we knew it, so we can do it. We can wipe out the fish, and that's relatively new. That's something a lot of us, have come to grips with, that we have the power now to do this. So if we have the power to do this, then we need to learn how to have the power to do it right. And there was another article in the Globe Mail written recently about, maybe we have too much power. Maybe we need to dial it back, with cameras and lures that flash and fish sense and sonars and side imaging, that it's too much power. It's not fair. And I would agree when that technology is being used to locate and collect fish for commercial purposes. We know that the catch per unit ratio, they need less time now to catch more fish, and they're quite efficient at it. This technology has made them very efficient. But I would argue that it's the opposite when it comes to anglers. The angler that spends, $75,000 setting up a fishing boat with some electronics and trolling motors and, all of this wizardry, they're not doing this because they have food insecurity or because they want to fill their freezer. These are the people that are more likely than not letting the fish go, right? Because they love it. They love the sport and they don't want to stop. The ones that are, then at the other end of the spectrum, you have that individual who has a creaky tin boat, some old gear, and they just go out there. They know exactly when to go and where to go, when to show up to catch their limit 5 times over, and they're done. and they're filled their freezer and they feel good about themselves. And that's the other end of the spectrum. And that, you know, we all know, we've all seen people doing that. And we all say, what are you doing, buddy? And then they complain, oh yeah, it used to be really good fishing here, but it's not, you know, something happened and they're all gone. And I don't know what the hell happened. And someone ruined it. Yeah, you ruined it, buddy, because you caught them all. You kept going back and catching them all. So there's that extreme. But then there's just the average person, the 80% of people who fish, who have a 16-foot or 14-foot tinny and just go fishing the same way they were taught by their parents or their grandparents. And they're following the regulations, and they're teaching themselves how to fish with all this technology, and they're learning how to do it. And they can't afford all this wizardry. Maybe they have a fish finder, you know, just a scanner, a sounder. And they're not bad anglers, but they come back skunked just as often as they come back having a decent day, maybe probably more often less a good day than a good day. But we have to educate these people too on how to do this properly and how to do it the right way. But I don't think it's an abuse of technology amongst recreational anglers. I don't think that's what we're facing. It's just a shortage of information in some cases and a few bad apples.
Well, I think that is that's the common denominator, that most of this is all because there's a certain group out there that don't want to listen, just want to do their own thing, and really don't have any regard for the fishery other than making sure that there's enough of it in their freezer. And, you know, we try to aspire to educate anglers like that, but I can assure you our failure rate is quite high because they have no interest in following the rules. None whatsoever.
None whatsoever.
Hunters, and will always remain need hunters. And God bless them. Hopefully they start to diminish in size and numbers, and us on the other side that you know, love our resource, love the ability to fish, love the odd meal every once in a while, but understand the importance of catch and release. Hopefully our numbers grow in comparison to theirs, because we need that. Well, we beat that subject up pretty good, Lords.
Good.
Do you have a quick segment on Feel the Bite?
Yeah, I just want to talk about Ned rigs a bit. You know, to me, this is jig fishing really at the micro level. It's, you know, it's just a lot of fun. It's just a lot of fun. Small little jigs with little pieces of Senkos, you know, it's almost really just a tail of a Senko, put on a small jig head, maybe a quarter or 1/8 ounce jig head, and you catch them on the drop, right? You catch these fish on the drop. But I'll just show you these here. This is something I love to do with my Ned rigs. These are just little tiny, you know, 2.5 inch rhythm waves, right? And they fit beautifully on a little Ned. And why do I like that? Because when it's falling, that little paddle tail slows it down even further. So you can use a little bit more weight so you can get that cast. And then you got that little paddle tail that slows the drop. It controls the drop. Like Big Jim was saying, sometimes you need to slow that drop. And that little paddle tail gives a little bit of extra motion into that Ned rig as it's going down. I was using it to fish Canadian Shield Lake, like I said, the other couple days ago. And, you know, I could get down with my Ned rig 20, 25 feet to these ledges where the smallmouth were sitting. And it was a lot of fun because you're out there. There's not a lot of structure around. You're not fishing around wood. It's a stone ledge, you know, it's Canadian Shield. You just got to get down to that ledge. And as soon as you're down there, one of them is going to grab it. And so you can use a little bit lighter tackle, like 6-pound fluoro on a medium light casting rod or a spinning rod. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. It's a great way, you know, knowing not to go too light, but I don't need to just pull the fish in and make sure I get the fish into the live well because I need to get it in to weigh it for a tournament. That's not my goal. My goal is just to have some fun, and, you know, pinching down the barb is just fine. I don't care if the fish gets off next to the boat. Not a big problem. If I get it up to the surface and it splashes around a little bit and, you know, somehow it manages to shake my barbless hook, well, that was my fault for doing something wrong, getting the head up too high, or, you know, to me, fishing with barbless hooks on light tackle like that is a challenge. It's a challenge, and you, especially with wacky rigs, you know, where you don't necessarily feel that hit because it's sinking or it's sunk on the bottom, and the fish comes along and just picks it up. And So I fish, with my wacky rigs, I fish a 2-aught barbless octopus hook. And it's just, it falls out. It literally just falls out of the mouth when I get that fish beside the boat. I don't even bother putting them in a net. I just get them beside the boat, run my hand down the line to the eye of the hook. Then I know where the fish's mouth is. Reach in with my other hand, open the mouth, slide the hook out. No pliers needed, barbless. And that fish is no worse for wear. No worse for wear. We can do a lot better with barbless hooks, and definitely worth our time to explore that. People say, well, I'm using these Senkos with these O-rings, and you would think that would just slide off the barbless hook. But in my experience, it doesn't happen. It happens as much as it does if I'm using a barb hook. Very seldom. The more 99% of the time, the O-ring is sliding up my main line away from the hook, not towards the point. Because the point is in the fish's mouth. It's not coming off. And when you cast, it's at the bend of the hook. It's not coming off.
Well, Lawrence, a great segment again this evening. You certainly taught us a few things that we should know and hopefully don't come to fruition, because I will say, this whole catch and release thing has me scared, because it's they're going about it in a way that I don't know. It has some teeth, and
listen to my podcast. You got the link. Scotty's going to share the link to the podcast. I recorded with Mark Hume, who wrote that article and all the books. We had a beautiful conversation. He's a wonderful, wonderful man. We had an amazing conversation. Educate yourself about, like what Scotty was saying, about our heritage of fishing, our history of fishing, the celebration of fishing, of having a meal of fish, of connecting with nature through fishing. He gets into a lot of talk about the pain of fish, and I'm going to be giving classes every week for the next 5 weeks. In partnership with Dovercourt Conservation Community Center here in Ottawa and Ottawa River Muskie Factory. I'm one of the educators in the youth fishing schools we're putting on for the next 5 weeks. We've got 12 kids this week between the ages of 12 and 15. So I'll be talking to them tomorrow for an hour about catch and release, best handling. They're out there. Today they were out there day one fishing for panfish with a float, a tin weight, and a circle hook.
Wow.
A circle hook. So it works. Circle hooks work on panfish.
Absolutely. Well, as I say, Lawrence, thanks so much. Each and every Monday you do this. We really appreciate it, and keep us up to date.
I will, man.
There's more to come.
Thanks, Scotty. Thanks, everyone.
Right on, dude. You take care of yourself.
You too, buddy.
Peace. And excuse me, there's the link there that Lawrence was talking about. Go over and have a listen to it. As I said, it is interesting. It's eye-opening. It'll get you thinking, and it'll certainly motivate you, like it does me, to get more involved. Sometimes we don't like necessarily to get into the political realm, but in this case, when it comes to catch and release, I see this as very damaging, potentially very damaging. It could possibly have some catastrophic results that as anglers we're not going to appreciate. So I invite you to listen to it. It'll definitely get you interested in getting involved, as it did me. Now, just before we bring in Jay, he's all showered up. He looks like a button. I tell you, just a peach. We have a word from his sponsor. Frantically, there it is. Just a moment.
The fear of failure is failure itself. The world of science rewards the ones who are willing to try and fail. Because without the courage to embrace failure, ideas remain ideas. But with that courage to fail and to learn, ideas can change the world.
Big J BARNUCZ, how you doing, my friend?
Dude, it's hot.
I know.
It's hot.
I know. And you've had a storm go through, so I'm sure the humidity's up through the roof.
Actually, I'm sitting here beside my lovely air conditioner in the hotel room in Kincardine, but it's so noisy that I shut it off just for you. So I'll get sweaty just for you, Scotty. Hey, did I lose you? Oh no. I lost Scotty.
I'm here. I don't know what just happened, but as I said, we are working off. We literally have a Band-Aid and an aspirin holding this whole thing together. So I'm not surprised we had a little bit of a hiccup.
It's all right.
We are back now with Jay, who's hugging his air conditioner because
Dude, usually it's my end. I thought the Wi-Fi here at the hotel, I thought the bandwidth was gone. I thought I was over. So we're good.
No, it's back. And Tony, they didn't cut the power, just the cable that runs the whole show. So as I said, we are off technology right now, and hopefully it's going to keep us alive for just a little bit longer. But I tell you, you have been one busy lad. You have had Owen and Trevor in your midst for the fish off, and now you're working in this heat. Like, dude, there's not enough hours in your day.
Okay, so I got to go back. So I took Thursday, Friday off last week, Canada Day and the Friday, and I'm going to full confession. So on Thursday, I fished Canada Day. We fished all day. And the Friday was all storms. Like, we had storm after storm after storm after storm. And I didn't leave the house, man. I was like the dad on the couch, you know? And, you know, the fish off for us too, like we wrapped it up yesterday, but the fish off for us, you know, we wanted a top 10. I think we'll just sneak inside the top 10. I knew that this past week I wouldn't be much help because of work. I knew work was, I'm back working, you know, traveling and away from the family, and it is what it is. And so, you know, Trevor and I gave it our go for 3 weeks and did our best, and we got lots of help. And I want to give a shout out to all the good friends who helped us, and not just the ones we fished with, but the networking and the fish off has so much good parts to it that I knew existed, but it was great to experience it firsthand. It was a fantastic time, and I'm very proud of our finish, and I'm proud of so many people in the fish off, whether they are above us in the standings and a lot of people below us in the standings, and I'm proud of their successes. Saw so many kids out fishing. Like, I go on the CFN group every day, and I select the feature where it's like recent posts, and I scroll through, and I just sit there and I love all the videos, man. I love them all. I just sit there and like and just enjoy it. It's been a great ride. So,
well, I'll tell you on behalf of CFN and all of our judges, and Kenneth just mentioned to me that someone just came in the 11th hour to help out. I think it was Joel. Nice. So big shout out to Joel. But as I said, it's a lot of moving parts, and it does come together. But I'll tell you, it's the participation that you and Trevor put forth that truly is what we try to aspire to, because it's that kind of, you know, positive interaction and participation that we look for. And I know a lot of our CFNers get it. You know, there's a few that are there for other reasons, but it is what it is. But needless to say, the majority of you, in fact, most of you, are there with good intentions and the support of other anglers. And you were definitely
so many great ambassadors for the sport in this organization. And there's so much positive stuff. And Scotty, you're always going to get some negative, man. It comes in anything, you know.
Absolutely.
But you know, I like to always dwell on the positive and stuff. That's what I do. I tend to swallow up and internalize all the negative stuff. Maybe that comes out once in a while, but honestly, man, just kudos to everyone. Kudos to the judges. I think Kenneth was a little disappointed this year because I wasn't like a volunteer judge. We did, you know what, dude, we did consult, and I said, Kenneth, like, if you need me for something, I'll be there. If you need my help or second opinion on something, you know, because he knows that I'm not going to compromise, you know, what I do professionally. Like, I identify fish for a living. Like, I'm not going to joke. That's a big part of my job. But I am so impressed with the judges. Like, I work with Royal Ontario Museum staff. I work with Canadian Museum of Nature staff. I work with some of the best ichthyologists, fish taxonomists in the country, in Canada. And I'm proud to call all the people my friends. And the judges in the fish off, and I'll put Kenneth, I'll give Kenneth the crown, but he's got a lot of people in his court helping him. Brad Rasmussen, you brought on this year, like he's fantastic. Another great multi-species angler. So kudos to all the judges and doing their best, because the videos aren't the best. People aren't trying to submit bad videos. It's tough. I've submitted some crappy videos. Like, good Lord, like it's tough. You're worried about your fish and saying the code right. If I could put a blooper reel together, it would be terrible. Like number one reason for a net isn't just okay. Number one reason is fish care. Number two is to hold your fish while you get the video right, because I screwed up the video. Trevor the same, man. We laugh about the videos, but no, kudos to everyone. We were so happy to participate this year, and we hope we can do it again next year. And I'll tell you, I say maybe, but Trevor and Owen, now we fish with lots of people, but these two kids, man, they are fishing phenoms. I just sat back last night and watched those two put a clinic on river smallmouth last night. I was just happy to be the photographer, and it was great. And to do our final video submission with an 18-inch river smallmouth, and mind you, Owen's first time fishing a small river for smallmouth, and he landed three. None of them were 18. I'm going to call them 18, but there was three smallmouth that were 17 and 7/8, three of them. And I'm like, dude, let's just call them 18s, because I'm not going to judge you, man, because that's awesome. So that was last night. Got home around 10, packed my bags, got to bed around midnight, got up at 5, drove to Burlington, got in the truck, drove to Walkerton, paddled for 6 hours on the Saugeen, saw a bunch of cool species, met some cool campers, found like a hippie commune in the middle of the woods. I think Willie Nelson. I think I met Willie Nelson's twin today, with his swimming with his dog in the Saugeen. I'm not even joking. And we ended it off. Thank God for the good folks at Subway. I got my food for tonight, my lunch for tomorrow. Scott, you know it is on the road, buddy. You got to just do what you can, right? So
absolutely. But Alicia has mentioned here, and I would have to agree. You fished so hard, you lost your hair.
Oh, okay. So this past weekend, I'll tell the true story. This past weekend, we went to Heather's brother's place. I haven't been there since February 2020. And we had the everything party, okay? Because everyone in our family is now double vaccinated, has been for a while. So we had outdoor party. We had Christmas, birthdays, anniversaries. We decorated the fence with St. Patrick's Day, New Year's Eve, graduation. So because my nephew Thomas, shout out to Thomas, he graduated grade 12 this year. Trevor graduated grade 8. Beautiful. And so we're sitting around, Scotty, like, I've having a couple of beers, maybe a few more than a couple. And
oh no,
my brother-in-law's talking about my hair, and I'm like, dude, you got clippers? He goes, I got pet shears in the house. And I'm like, let's bring them out. So we went to town. I had a skullet. I was wearing a skullet for a little while. We just shaved off the top. Like, Heather picked up the hair. Like, my brother-in-law's like, Richard, shout out to Richard. He's like, I'll just leave it on the lawn. There's like a dead animal, dude. There was like a shopping bag of hair. Like, Heather's like, we can't leave this on the lawn. So yeah, dude, I got it right down, like right down.
See, and I like it. That's how I like my hair. Same as it's maintenance free. You wake up and you go, there's no styling, there's no mousse, there's no hold, no gel, no nothing. You just take off and go. I love that, it's maintenance free.
Alicia, you go to Heather's, go to my wife, Heather Surratt, go to her Facebook page, Alicia, and there's the everything party picture. She put together little collages. There's a collage, a series of haircut videos or pictures of me with the before. I had the flow shot, before I had to do the flow picture, right? And then the after picture. So, and in fact, I was reminded that I have a scar right here. No, over here. I have a scar, 17 stitches, Chinook salmon fishing on Wilmot when I was 22.
That's a story right there, I imagine.
I slipped in a cedar branch, cut my head wide open, and instead of going to the hospital right away, you know what I did? I got down on my hands and knees.
No way.
Dunked my head in Wilmot Creek, dunked it in, did it 4 or 5 times because I thought I was going to pass out. And then I had blood all over my vest, and we fished the rest of the day. And the scar is there because the doctor told me you should have come in here hours ago. You should not have kept fishing. And I'm like, oh, I kept fishing. So I can never have a shaved head because I have this like Frankenstein scar on my head from fishing.
Well, geez, that day you would have fit in well with the hipsters that you ran into today. And speaking of which, Jim just mentioned you never said hello.
What? Who? Where?
When you ran into that commune or whatever in the woods.
Oh, geez.
You never said hello.
Well, it was quite. You know what? We're trying to be COVID, like not group up with people. Next thing you know, they're like trying to buy bait off me and crayfish because we caught lots of crayfish today. And I'm like, oh, good Lord, just let me just move on. And dude, we pulled off the river like in the middle of between Walkerton and Paisley, like in the middle of nowhere. And up rolls these two ATVs and full of hipsters, male guys and girls, and they have their lawn chairs in the river watching me drag a seine net, Scotty. I can't make this up. Their dogs were swimming in my seine trying to eat my minnows.
Come on.
Yeah. It was good. It was all good. It was fun. It was fun. Yeah.
Some people's children, I tell you, holy smokes. But yes, you went on about our fish off and some of our video entries, and it may have been awkward for some who are not great in front of the camera. They have a reluctance to want to get in front of it. But I'll tell you,
it's all good.
We've seen everyone from maybe a language barrier to a speech impediment with our good friend David Speaker, who did fantastic in my opinion. Struggling through some of those videos, but you know what? At the end of the day, it's wonderful to see the commitment and the participation. And it gives Mike and I and the rest of the judges a warm feeling inside to see that kind of level of commitment. And again, right back at you, dude. As well as you have voiced all these accolades about our CFN Fish Off crew, you as well as the rest of the participants, man, you made us all proud.
But hey, dude, listen, we're not done yet. Because right now, this is we're July 5th.
Yeah.
National Fishing Week goes till next Sunday. So everybody, don't put your rods away. You need to get out and go fishing. It's National Fishing Week, July 3rd to 11th. Go fishing across Canada. You got to follow your local regulations and stuff. But let's celebrate the sport of fishing this week. Kudos to now. Who here, Scott? Did you watch Weather Network at all? Like in the mornings, once in a while.
Every day.
Okay.
Every day.
You know Chris Murphy. Chris Murphy.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, yep. So Chris, not only is he a top-notch meteorologist, he's also an avid angler. By the way.
Oh.
And we follow each other on Twitter. Him and I talk once in a while. Actually, last year he featured the kids on the August long weekend. I put some pictures on Twitter of Stephanie and Trevor, and he featured them on his morning show.
I saw that. Yes.
So tomorrow morning, you might see some familiar faces talking about National Fishing Week on the morning show on the Weather Network tomorrow morning. Just let you guys know. Shout out to Chris Murphy. Follow that guy on Twitter. He's a stand-up meteorologist, angler, and just one hell of a Canadian. He's an awesome dude, man. I love that guy.
I'm looking forward to that. So that's the Weather Network tomorrow. And
tomorrow morning, I think between like 12 minutes and 16 minutes past the hour, it'll be a rolling. They do their little segments.
It's you know what, and I say this jokingly all the time. The Weather Network is almost worse than 680 News in terms of the rotation. 680 News, at least they'll add a few words to the next rotation to keep it original. But Weather Network, it is the same loop over and over and over again. But that'll be awesome to see. Right on. I look forward to seeing it.
He reached out to me today. We got talking fishing. He just got back from vacation. He's honestly, follow him on Twitter. He's always putting weather pictures up, but he'll always reach out to anglers. He's a great guy. So that's tomorrow. Couple other things. You know what? I have to share this link in the chat. I've had a lot of people ask what bait I'm using on those river smallmouth, and there's two baits I like to use. One is a Berkeley Chopo, but last night the Berkeley Wake Bull in bone color, so it's a little crankbait. I'm not even going to say little. I was using the little one, and I caught a couple. The boys reached in my box and grabbed the size 70, which is a 70 millimeter crankbait. So it's pretty big. And instead of a little rattle, it's got like more of a clunk. And all they were doing was throwing this bait across the river, and this wake bait would just dive. The bigger one doesn't dive as far, so it really wakes the surface. And you can hear that clunk, 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 clunk. And two of Owen's biggest fish hit at the end of the rod. Like he's slow rolling this thing. And then all of a sudden these smallies. Now, remember all the rain we've had recently? The water's only, you can see maybe a foot and a half into the river. Some of those smallies will follow the bait right to the end of your rod and grab it and run. And we're only using medium action rods, like 6'9", 7 foot. So dude, it was so much fun catching those fish last night. So it was awesome. So that was the bait we were using. And it's great. The wake bull's nice because it does dive a little bit. And so sometimes they won't come up for a top water like a chopo. They want something more down. And the wake bull is a great, if you use anything more than a wake bull in most rivers in Southern Ontario, like, dude, we're only fishing water that's maybe up to my chest. That's the deepest it gets. And so, and those fish will come up. But you got to treat them like brown trout and brook trout. You got to be kind of stealthy with them, you know? Don't be banging around the banks, making lots of noise, dirtying the water up. If I get to a good run, I'll actually sit and just have a sip of water, and I'll let that, after I've walked up to that run, I'll sit there for 10 or 15 minutes. I want those fish to rest, because if I'm going to get a big one, it's usually the first or second cast they're on it. So
the wake bull, I like that.
The wake bull.
And bone color, doesn't matter what you're using. A bone color is always a productive color.
Oh yeah, I catch so many fish on white baits, man. White baits all the time. It's probably one of my top producing baits, no matter what we're fishing.
I would say white, and a close second would be pink. I find I don't know what it is about pink, especially in that dirty water or that tannic water that you find up at Horwood. Pink, it almost has the image of a white bone color once it gets immersed in the water. So. Two colors that are big on my list.
So Alicia, you got to highlight Alicia's post. I have to talk about it. Okay, so Alicia says,
"Yes, I did see this.
Water out of Trevor's waders." Okay, and this happens. Listen, when you work with me, like I taught my waders today twice. Water down the waders. I got waders hanging in the bathroom. The Holiday Inn Express loves me here in Kincardine. There's muddy water dripping in the shower right now. Okay, so. You got to get the water out. So you can either do a couple things. You can do a little handstand, prop your feet up on a tree, get the water to flow out. Best way to do it is just grab your buddy by the ankles and kind of prop each other up, or do the wheelbarrow. Anyone, you ever done field day at school, do the wheelbarrow race?
Yeah.
So Trevor got the wake bull. His wake bull hung up on a log. And I'm like, typical dad, hey, you go get that lure. I want that lure back. I said, it's COVID, man. It's hard to get lures right now. Go get me my lure. So he goes and gets it. Now, I did say to him, take your time going across. Use your feet. Take your time. Be careful. So he gets over to the lure, gets it off, but he went this way out, and then he's like, I can't see now because the water's there. I'm going to go this way back. And then I was unhooking Owen's one. I don't know how many fish Owen caught. Like Owen's like 14th fish. And all of a sudden, I see Trevor. Owen's like, Trevor's swimming. I look, and there's Trevor up to his neck. So now he wasn't up to his neck in depth. He tripped over a boulder. A lot of these smallmouth rivers have huge boulders that you can't see. And so he went in, and we got like a kilometer walk back to the van, and I can hear him sloshing behind me, this sloshy. And I'm like, come here. And he goes, and I demonstrated this to his grade 6 class when he was in grade 6. The kids asked me, Mr. BARNUCZ, how do you get the water out of your waders? Like, how do you not drown? And I made Trevor come to the front of the class, and we pretended he had waders on. Well, we lived it in real time, and I picked him up by his ankles, and we drained all the water out. So it's
one of the funniest things I've ever seen. A friend of mine that I used to river fish with back when my waders used to fit, because the second funniest thing was me putting those darn things on when they didn't fit. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. But there we are river fishing. He falls down for whatever reason, and he goes to do exactly that, the handstand with the tree. Yeah. And all of a sudden he collapses, coughing. He goes into a coughing fit. Well, he damn near drowned himself. He said, I mean, if it wasn't bad enough that I went underwater with waders, now I just lost my breath trying to empty them. Oh, it was funny.
You know, and I got to tell people too, because I've had some people comment on this on social media, because I posted on Instagram and the story as well in the CFN group. Listen, if you're scared of waders, take your waders in a pool. Go to a friend's house. Like wash your waders off first. Don't be that guy. Okay, so hose the waders down first. Go in the pool with your waders on. You will not drown in your waders. Don't be scared. It's good for everyone to feel what it's like to be in waders full of water. And there's actually some cool tips you can use to take them off just by relaxing your feet and kicking, like doing a flutter kick.
Yeah,
you can kick your waders off in the water, like that suction that you feel when you're in the water and your waders actually fill up. Your feet can slide out of them easier. Excuse me. So, yeah, like I hear people all the time. Because they see me, I wear waders a lot, river smallie fishing. In the heat of summer, I'm wearing Gore-Tex waders. You know, I'm walking through, Scotty, we're walking through stinging nettle. We're walking through hogweed. There's ticks. I'll just wear the Gore-Tex waders. Dude, am I sweaty the other day? Yeah, I can wring my socks out. Sorry, I know it's a family show, but I can wring my socks out at the end of the day. We just bring lots of water, and when we get back to the van, I have a cooler full of drinks when we get back, every single time. But wear waders in summer when you're doing river fishing, because like hogweed and stuff, dude, it's so nasty. That's why I wear it. And am I comfortable? I'd rather just wear water sandals. But when you're wading rivers, the gravel gets into I have nice keen water sandals that I wear in the boat all the time. Gravel gets in those and it's uncomfortable walking. And I'm walking kilometers some days.
Yeah.
So a good wading boot. We talked about this with Steelhead Sundays last fall.
Yeah.
Good wading boot with a good support. And I wear the same boots year round. So steelheading, smallie fish, whatever, all of it. So
it's true with the tick situation that's currently going on right now.
Oh yeah,
it's probably some of the best advice that you could give someone if they're having to get into water and out of water. Just as you said, just wear the waders, man. I'll tell you, it's a heck of a lot better than having to pick those things out of your skin, which, you know what, we haven't really seen a lot of. And I was probably most worried about folks down your way, like Bouncy Bottoms, as well as your team, having to do that. And there was evidence.
A lot of my friends get more ticks, like the turkey hunting, like I'll use my technical term, the terrestrial people. Okay, I'm aquatic. Okay, so a lot of our friends who are terrestrial, our fellow outdoors enthusiasts, especially like in the forestry side of things, they get so much. I hear so much about ticks. I check for ticks. I'm so big on long sleeve shirts now too. Like I've got big into wearing sun shirts. Yeah. They're comfortable. If the bugs are bad, I will spray them down with sunscreen. But honestly, I don't wear sunscreen. I wear sunscreen on my face and my neck and my hands. But my skull shirt, dude, like I can't tell you. Okay, look, dude, you're a big guy like me. Okay.
Yep.
I'm not big on this athletic fit. Okay, like I don't need people to see all the good stuff. Okay.
Thank you.
I'm gonna give a shout out to Shelly Langley at Skoll. She sells these shirts. Dude, this is a XXL. Okay, XXL. I have XXL AFCO shirts that I have to peel off at the end of the day. This shirt has like a baggy fit to it. It's the nicest sun shirt I've ever bought. I've actually ordered a second one because I'm beating the hell. I got so many, dude. I've never seen so many stains. I don't know how I'm gonna get the stains out of this thing. It's caught so many fish though in the past 2 years. But I'm telling you, and I'm not gonna say it doesn't hold up. I have worn this for probably 150 days in the past 2 years. This shirt, fishing.
No, I'm with you 100%. And if it wasn't for the fabric of our jerseys, I'd have a hard time on a sunny day wearing our jerseys. But I love the fabric and it makes it easy to wear. But you're 100% right. I do find that those sun shirts are very, well, let's just say they're for the slim at heart, not so much the hefty at heart. And
and Richard Elliott, good point. So I've gotten to wearing at the Bassmaster Classic 2 years ago, AFCO was selling sun gloves. So now I'm wearing the sun gloves. I got the buff. I got the shirt, the hoodie. I got it all. Like I even I got my Columbia fishing gear pants. They're all UPF. Everything. I love it. It took me a while to get used to those, Scotty. Like I like to just, I like the sun's out, guns out, right? Like that was me for years. And now I cover up all the time, even at work. You just kind of get used to it. You got to get used to that heat, right? So, hey, Richard Elliott, another shout out to you, man. So I'm in Kincardine, and I'm going to be working in Walkerton and Paisley for the next 2 or 3 weeks. I'm not going to be free every night. But Richard Elliott, I know you're a Teeswater guy. So you and I need to hook up. I'm going to message you on Facebook. I want to hook up with – and I got some leads on some river smallies. I got some inside tracks on some river smallmouth up here that I need to explore. So I'll keep everyone posted on that. I've never been to these places, but I got to check some stuff out. So
that's hilarious. Well, Alicia said, after 150 uses, it's probably time to maybe wash the shirt.
See this? I brought this by Lucky Hat. This is my raw fish hat from last year, which was brand new. And it has this beautiful waxy finish to it, Scotty. Do you know what I'm talking about? It has that. Yep. There's so much, like this is the fish off. The fish off, fine. And I'm not going to retire this hat. I love this hat. But, man, there are some things happening with this hat that fishing has done to it. And we should wear our hats. Like, I have my nice raw fish hats. I love these hats. They fit so nice. But this is my lucky hat. This has caught so many fish. Look how stained it is. That's disgusting.
Oh, I've got a feel like that. Yeah.
I love that hat.
And you can't wash it. Like everybody says, just wash it. You can't get that grime out. It just doesn't come out.
No, I'm not burning it, Tony, Alicia. Come on. I wore that hat in your boat. You never complained before. It catches fish. Actually, my kid catches fish. What are we doing? Oh, Richard.
Yeah, I'm off Wednesday and Thursday night, but getting my COVID shot sounds great, though.
Listen, Richard, you get your COVID shot this week. This week I'm busy, but next week and the week after, we're going to get out. I'm going to reach out to you on Facebook, buddy. Let's go fishing. Let's do it.
Sounds like a plan. Yeah. Everybody's got hats like that. Just it's our keepsake. It's our go-to. It's our confidence blanket. You name it. It is what it is. But they do get weathered and unfortunately are harder to clean each and every time we try.
I know. It's all good though, buddy. It's all good.
Right on. So, well, listen, I know you're tired. You've been busy. Yep. I'm gonna let you. I'll let you go early so you can get caught up on eating or whatever else that Jay does. When
there's a bed, I'm gonna sleep. I'm gonna try and get 8 hours of sleep tonight, Scott. That's my goal tonight. 8 hours, not 5, not 4, not 3, 8.
Well deserved. And as I said, dude, your participation, positivity, and everything else that you brought to the fish off, on behalf of myself and Mike, we really appreciate it.
You know what? Just good luck to you guys, and I'll congratulate the winners. However it happens, I've enjoyed watching the last few days and the hard work and the trips and the cool species. It's been awesome. So whoever wins, they're deserving, and everyone deserves, especially some of those top teams. Like I'm not going to go through all the names, but some of them came on from way back, and I sometimes, dude, like I'll just sit back and be like, man, that is just awesome to watch. Some of those guys come back, great stuff. So thanks everybody. Be good, stay hydrated, and we'll see you guys next week, if not sooner, on the water. Thanks.
Right on, Jay. Thanks so much for doing this, bud. You take care of yourself. All the best. Right on. What a class act. We are so lucky to be blessed with such great people that are a part of what we do here, and he is definitely one of them. Here's a quick word from our sponsor before we bring in Mike Consul.
When it comes to Canadian food, we've got your back with flavors like lemon pepper, beer batter, campfire barbecue, lemon pepper dill, garlic butter and chives, and crispy Cajun. We've got a mix for every meal. Whether you're serving East Coast shrimp, West Coast salmon, succulent walleye, chicken wings, or veggies, we've got you covered. Coat your food in outdoor flavors. Available online or at these fine retailers.
Mike Consul,
I'm
How you
on my
doing, buddy?
phone because
Good.
my phone is blowing up. Oh
I can
my
imagine.
gosh. What
I
an
can
amazing tournament. And it's not over yet. What time
3
is it?
hours. 3
Yeah.
hours to go. Less than 3 hours to go, buddy.
Less than 3 hours. Hey, Scotty, you going to be up at midnight? You want to go on at 11:45 and sum it all up?
I could certainly, yeah. Oh, yes, absolutely. I will be up with you at midnight, and we will finish this off as we always do in the traditional way.
I know the judges will be up because we got a lot of work to do. But if we could do an official countdown, and so people know, after we count it down, then no more submissions are allowed after that official countdown. So come join us. Here's the thing, though. There's a lot of entries, and it was a kind of long weekend, kind of not. But I know the judges have families and jobs and a whole bunch of other responsibilities. So we're gonna do our best to try to get everything done, and the likelihood that it's all done by tomorrow's Tourney Tuesday, I'm not 100% sure. Plus, we always have a review period where here's the current standings, but please review everything because there's human error. There's even glitches on the scoreboard that we are unaware of. So there's a whole bunch of things. We encourage all the teams to after the judges finish all their work. Here's the deadline date. Please review your points and let us know. And there's some stuff in previous years that, wow, the scoreboard messed up there, or the math is wrong there, or this species wasn't included there. So do that review, and then we'll announce the winner. Probably not tomorrow, but if everything's not done, but probably next Tuesday.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely for next Tuesday. We will probably do a raffle draw tomorrow. It may be for something that happened at the beginning of the fish off, perhaps maybe something else, but Mike and I will decide that tomorrow before we go on live. But stay tuned to that. We will definitely be giving something away.
Yeah, we definitely have our pre-tournament. We had 2 or 3 pre-tournament draws. I can't remember anymore. But there's still a pre-tournament draw that we have, and we're kind of saving it for tomorrow so that we'll give away some more, like Scotty said, and then give away a couple more rods next Tuesday when we announce the official winner of the 2021 CFN Fish Off. And wow, there's some stuff going on. There's some stuff going on. But applauding all the teams, time, effort, money, and you know what I love about it, Scotty, is some people might not have the time or be able to get off work, or some people don't even have a car. I remember Alexi's filming for the TV show. He doesn't even have a car. Or some people don't have the knowledge or experience. But because we have provincial winners, that kind of evens out. Because ultimately, if I live in BC or Ontario, I have an unfair advantage because I have way more fish than Bill Landry can catch in Saskatchewan. So right there's inequities. But having the provincial winners allows us to kind of even out those inequities, because I don't have to come in order to win a prize. I don't have to be the first in the country. I could be the first in Saskatchewan, let's say, or any of our other territories or the East Coast. So that definitely levels the playing field. And then the Shimano draws, you can be in 256th place and still, as long as you catch one species, you have a chance to win a rod and reel combo from our amazing sponsor Shimano. So that again levels the playing field. So are there inequities? Yes, because of where you live, because whether or not you have access to certain water, because of transportation, because time off work, because there's a whole bunch of becauses. But hopefully some of the things we put in place helps level that playing field.
Amen. And a big shout out to Bill Landry, one of which I will mention now, the other you will find out later. But he sent both Mike and I a text, and he was holding up this gargantuous carp. And he thanked the CFN Fish Off because he would never have caught a fish like that had it not been for the Fish Off. We will make sure that we get it up for Monster Monday next week, and certainly watermark in the CFN Fish Off logo. But it's a true testament to the species that drives these anglers to get out of their comfort zone and target fish that they have never targeted before, and be excited when they catch one. I think that's the biggest thing, is who gets excited about catching, say, suckers or any other kind of fish like that. But you know what? They bring a certain level of excitement because it counts as points, or as you said, Mike, it enters them into the possibility of winning a Shimano product. So it's a win-win.
Yeah. And one of the reasons my phone blows up almost every day is because of those type of comments. Like, thank you for putting on the fish off because it got me out with my kids more. Or thank you for putting on the tournament because I would have never targeted these species and realized how fun it is to catch these, fish that are considered non-sport fish if it wasn't for the motivation to do well in the tournament. And the list goes on and on and on. That's why but a lot of our sponsors love the tournament. And that's why the community loves the tournament, because no one does it the way we do it. Is it perfect? No. Every single year we got to change that rule because we didn't realize that this creates XYZ. And so every year we ask for our participant feedback, and we'll be sending out a form. And every year we make some tweaks to level the playing field even more. The judges have been, over the last 4 years, we've had hours and hours and hours of discussion and dialogue, trying to come up with every single scenario that can happen so that we could tweak the rules in a way that makes it fair for everyone. And I'm sure there'll be changes again next year based upon your amazing feedback community. But yeah, thank you. Thank you for being part of it.
Absolutely. And one things that we are definitely going to be diving headfirst into, because it's a hotly contested topic, is guided and chartered trips for our participants. Mike and I have been talking at great length today in regards to how we might alter that to a certain degree. But as I said, it's in the rules. It is not encouraged, nor is it discouraged. But as I said at the outset when we went on tonight, at the end of the day, if I'm a captain and I see an angler that spent his entire time in a boat or on a guided charter, and you know what, I'm probably not going to pick someone like that just because I want to see how good they are from shore, because that's what happens in the championship round, which is due to start very soon, right after our captains do their draws. And I don't envy the draft. I really don't. Jim also mentioned Kenneth, Joel, and anybody else who is doing all the submissions. Jim still has 122 largemouths to be entered shortly, so stay tuned for that.
Only one counts, Jim. Only the biggest one counts.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there are a lot of submissions. Now, to comment on the guides and charters, I know filming for season 1, filming for season 2, and filming for season 3, me and my teammate, whether it was Red the first year or Ken the next 2 years, there is a lot of community members that helped us catch species that we've never caught before. I know in season 1, I didn't even know a sucker was a sucker to me. I didn't even know there's different red horses. But Ken took me and Red out as our guide. Did we pay him? No. Can you consider me buying him lunch payment? Probably not. But he was our guide. We went out with another CFN community member. I went out with Mike Macri. He took me to the river and to catch some salmon and brown trout. I went out with Gord, and he helped put me on a yellow bullhead and some other fish that I've never caught before. I went to visit Mark and Erica, and they helped me catch my PB walleye and my PB drum and some crappie. So can you consider them guides? I don't know, maybe. Did they help select what bait I should use? Yes. Did they tell me exactly where to catch? Yes. Did they tell me how to present the bait? Yes. Did they tell me what time we should go? So yes, they guided me. I didn't pay them other than a thank you and some food in their belly. But how much different is that than paying a official charter captain or a guide that takes you to a certain location? I don't know. There's blurry lines there. So I know the team of judges, we're going to sit down and talk about what adjustments might need to be made just to even level the playing field even more.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. So as I said, we will be discussing that tomorrow, as well as giving some stuff away. So for all you CFN fish offers who are going to sleep very well tonight, if in fact you're not fishing right up until midnight, I look forward to seeing you bright-eyed and bushy-tailed tomorrow with Mike at 7 o'clock for Tourney Tuesdays. And stay tuned to that.
Yeah. So it's going to be awesome. Thank you once again to everyone. And join us tomorrow, because tomorrow we have lots of things to talk about, including the thing we're talking about now. But thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Absolutely.
much. Jason said it is hard. It's hard to please everyone, but the people we need to please are the people who are on here right now. The people who are devoted to CFN, understand all the variables involved, and realize it's not just about this one person or this one team. There's sponsors, there's beginners, there's experienced anglers, there's the community, there's history, there's tradition. Like, there's so many factors that we need to take into consideration when we're making our decisions. And thank you for everyone for their feedback, because it does help mold where we are. This is year 4, and year 4 is better than year 1. And the reason why is because of your feedback. So thank you very much. But there is a way to provide your feedback that doesn't take away from the community. So we just want to remind you of that.
Amen. We will discuss this further tomorrow at 7 p.m. Mike and I, Tourney Tuesdays. Stay tuned. Hopefully you join us, and you are someone that takes away some much deserved hardware.
Yeah. So Scotty, have a good night, and I will see you at 11:45 p.m.
Sounds
Set your
good.
alarm. Don't fall asleep.
I won't fall asleep, I promise. Take care, Mike.
All right.
See you in a bit. All right. Well, thanks for everyone who joined us tonight. As I said, with hockey going on, with the nice weather, COVID restrictions being lifted, and everything else, really appreciate you sticking around and spending some time with our community. It means a lot, especially to our featured guests, as well as Mike Consul, who comes on here to inform us of all the hard work that's going on behind the scenes when it comes to the CFN Fish Off. I wish you all well. Enjoy your week. Rest up. And as Jay said, you know what? It's National Fishing Week. Get out there and wet a line. You may not win a prize like you will with the Fish Off, but there'll be lots of memories that you will gain. And that is the most important of all. Take care. Love you all. All the best. Peace.